Hello, my name is Saira, and I'm here today to introduce the session for today, which is Raag of the Moment. I'm going to be accompanied by Abbas Qureshi on the harmonium. Abbas is a self-taught, passionate amateur who's taught himself to sing and play the harmonium. The harmonium was actually invented about 230 years ago by a professor in the University of Copenhagen, and it was adapted. It's got a very fascinating history and a journey. That's a story for another day. Also with us is Sandeep Popatkar. Sandeep is a professional percussion musician. He plays the tablas and was taught by his father, and historically has learned through generations which have been passed down to him. The invention of the tabla has been attributed to Amir Khusro in the 13th century. However, it is argued to have been the invention of his namesake in the 18th century. Amir Khusro took one drum and split it in two and turned it on its side, creating the tabla. What is a raag, you may ask? A raag, or sometimes called a raga, comes from the word ragam, a South Indian word. Ragam means to colour. So in a sense, we're looking at rags as being our paints with which we colour music. Some describe rags as modes. For example, in Western music, we have minor and major. In Indian classical music, there are over 300. These modes, actually mode is not enough. Some say it's a scale. Again, it's not enough. There isn't really a way of comprehending the vastness of what rags are. The best way I can think of is if you split a rainbow into 300, each line is a different hue, slightly different to the line before it. And that's what rags are. They are those lines. When we speak of rags, we think about how they express emotion. Feelings and emotions are connected with mood and how moods change with the atmosphere at the time of day. Therefore, rags are connected to the time of day. The day is split into 8 sections called prahars, and each composition can be identified with a prahar. For example, Raag Bhairavi is a morning rag associated with dawn, whereas rags Darbari and Malgons are midnight rags. So using these rags as building blocks, what musicians and composers do is create melodies. Abbas, along with learning to sing and play the harmonium, has also composed his own music to go with poetry. And when we combine poetry with melody and rhythm, we get what is everlasting. So we'd like you to join us on our journey as migrants who are first generation came, some of us as young children. Abbas and I came in the 60s to the UK. Sandeep's family arrived in the 80s. But we brought with us our colour palette. We brought with us the treasure chest that travelled thousands of miles, carrying with it culture, tradition, religion, politics, love, romance, music, history. One of those treasures in that treasure chest is the music. It's a treasure that has been threaded together on a golden thread that we share through not just thousands of miles, but thousands of years. So please join us for Raag of the Moment. So I'd like to invite you to now hear a few of these rags, a few examples, and perhaps Abbas will show us how a morning rag sounds. What you saw there was Abbas playing the first scale, the notes that make up the Raag. So if Abbas, could you play it again a couple of times? This is Raag Tori, early morning Raag. So what you saw there was Abbas playing the individual notes of the Raag. And then from that, when you play with those notes, the melody evolves, it comes out. All composers do this. They first always start with the Raag, the basic notes of the Raag, and then they build upon it. And they play with it. They play with each note. The late morning Raag is Beharvi.
मोहे आई न जग से लाज मैं इतनी जोर से नाची आज के घुंघरू टूट गए के घुंघरू टूट गए मोहे आई न जग से लाज मैं इतनी जोर से नाची आज के घुंघरू टूट गए 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 के घुंघरू टूट गए.
So now we come to the afternoon. An afternoon Raag, an example of it, Abbas will give us is Bimpalasi. So when we come to early evening, Raag Pahari comes to mind. And also, as I said, there are so many. We're just giving you an example of each time of the day.
तुमको देखा तो ये ख्याल आया, तुमको देखा तो ये ख्याल आया, जिंदगी धूप तुम घना साया, तुमको देखा तो ये ख्याल आया। आज फिर दिल ने एक तमन्ना की, आज फिर दिल ने एक तमन्ना की, आज फिर दिल को हमने समझाया, आज फिर दिल को हमने समझाया, जिंदगी धूप तुम घना साया, तुमको देखा तो ये ख्याल आया। तुम चले जाओगे तो सोचेंगे, तुम चले जाओगे तो सोचेंगे, हमने क्या खोया, हमने क्या पाया, हमने क्या खोया, हमने क्या पाया, जिंदगी धूप तुम घना साया, तुमको देखा तो ये ख्याल आया। हम जिसे गुनगुना नहीं सकते, हम जिसे गुनगुना नहीं सकते, वक्त ने ऐसा गीत क्यों गाया, वक्त ने ऐसा गीत क्यों गाया, जिंदगी धूप तुम घना साया, तुमको देखा तो ये ख्याल आया, तुमको देखा तो ये ख्याल आया।
So that's given a flavor of starting the day, morning rags, early afternoon, and the last pahari was late afternoon after a long day's work, lunch, you're tired, need to just relax a little. Slow down slowly. So we come to early evening. The early evening rag we've chosen to share with you today is called Malkons.
प्यार नहीं है सुर से जिसको प्यार नहीं है सुर से जिसको प्यार नहीं है सुर से जिसको वो मूर्ख इंसान नहीं प्यार नहीं है सुर से जिसको वो मूर्ख इंसान नहीं प्यार नहीं है सुर से जिसको सुर इंसान बना देता है सुर इंसान बना देता है सुर रहमान मिला देता है सुर इंसान बना देता है सुर रहमान मिला देता है सुर की आग में जलने वाले परवाने नादान नहीं प्यार नहीं है सुर से जिसको प्यार नहीं है सुर से जिसको वो मूर्ख इंसान नहीं प्यार नहीं है सुर से जिसको
So now we come to the evening rags. We selected Raag Darbari to share with you. This was a creation of Amir Khusro again and was played to calm the Mughal emperors in their palaces at night.
सुनते के मिल जाती है सुनते के मिल जाती है हर चीज़ दुआ से सुनते के मिल जाती है हर चीज़ दुआ से एक रोज़ तुम्हें मांग के देखेंगे खुदा से सुनते के मिल जाती है हर चीज़ दुआ से एक रोज़ तुम्हें मांग के देखेंगे खुदा से सुनते.
Ustad Inayat Khan was a sitar player, and he was the first recording artist in the 1930s to have been recorded playing the sitar in India. And he actually claimed that there were probably over what he called 4 lakh. A lakh is 100,000. And he said that there's probably more than 4 lakh rags. So, in a sense, you could have spent all of your life trying to learn, but it's quite impossible to actually understand each hue. And as you've seen, from a few notes, when put to melody, the melodies grow and evolve. Having given you a flavor of a few rags, a few of the very many, You may have felt that these are quite solemn. In fact, the art form that we've presented today is Ghazal. There are many art forms of music, Tumri, Ada, but today we've shown you some rather romantic Ghazals associated with hurt and sorrow sometimes, and love. But the Raags have been influential in all forms of music. And in particular, we can touch on Bollywood, which has connected everyone in the South Asian diaspora, no matter where they are, all linked through music. Amir Khusro. How many people from the South Asian diaspora of second and third generation have ever heard of the name Amir Khusro? And yet, we have him to thank for the language which connects the people of South Asia in the diaspora, irrespective of whatever their mother tongue is, whether it be Tamil, Telugu, or Malayalam of the south, to Pashto, Punjabi in the north, and all of the languages and dialects in between. Khusro created a language that brought the whole of the subcontinent together, and that language is Urdu, the language of love, ultimately expressed in the form of the most poetic Ghazal. There are many personalities and characters in the history of the Ghazal worth naming, names that must be remembered and revered. Sadly, if it weren't for our love of music, they would have been lost to our generation, let alone the generations that follow. Poets such as Khusro, Ghalib, Kabir Das, Iqbal, Chirag Hassan, Mir Manto, Amrita Pritam, Parveen Shakar, and of course, the unforgettable Faiz Ahmed Faiz. One of the most effective vehicles for sharing the Ghazal to the wider audience has been Bollywood, and a Ghazal known by all was sung in the film Chaudhwi Ka Chand, meaning the full moon, by the late great Muhammad Rafi.
चेहरा है जैसे झील पे हंसता हुआ कमल, या जिंदगी के साज पे छेड़ी हुई गजल, जाने बहार तुम किसी शायर का ख्वाब हो, चौदहवीं का चांद हो या आफताब हो, जो भी हो तुम खुदा की कसम लाजवाब हो, चौदहवीं का चांद हो या आफताब हो, जो भी हो तुम खुदा की कसम लाजवाब हो, चौदहवीं का चांद हो। जुल्फे हैं जैसे कांधों पे बादल झुके हुए, जुल्फे हैं जैसे कांधों पे बादल झुके हुए, आँखें हैं जैसे मैं के प्याले भरे हुए, मस्ती है जिसमें प्यार की तुम वो शराब हो, चौदहवीं का चांद हो या आफताब हो, जो भी हो तुम खुदा की कसम लाजवाब हो,
So with that, I hope you've enjoyed this session. We'd like to leave you with a great favorite, a ghazal that was composed by the great philosopher, poet, writer, Faiz Ahmed Faiz. Again, it's a little bit heartbreaking, and it was used in an Indian film in a romantic tone, but it was actually written with a political bias, heavily political, of heartbreak, of a partition, of a division, of a loss, a great loss. It's a tremendously famous ghazal, and I'm going to say thank you for listening.
मुझसे पहली सी मोहब्बत मेरे महबूब ना मान, मुझसे पहली सी मोहब्बत मेरे महबूब ना मान, मुझसे पहली सी मोहब्बत मेरे महबूब ना मान, मुझसे पहली सी मोहब्बत मेरे महबूब ना मान। मैंने समझा था कि तू है तो दरशां है हया, मैंने समझा था कि तू है तो दरशां है हया, तेरा गम है तो गमे दहर का झगड़ा क्या है, तेरी सूरत से आलम में बहारों को सबा, तेरी आँखों के सिवा दुनिया में रखा क्या है, तेरी आँखों के सिवा दुनिया में रखा क्या है। तू जो मिल जाए तो तकदीर निगूं हो जाए, यूं न था मैंने फकत चाहता यूं हो जाए, हाँ मुझसे पहली सी मोहब्बत मेरे महबूब ना मान, मुझसे पहली सी मोहब्बत मेरे महबूब ना मान। अनगिनत सदियों की तारीख बेईमाना तलिस्म, अनगिनत सदियों की तारीख बेईमाना तलिस्म, रेशमो अतलसो कम ख्वाब में बुनवाए हुए, जा बजा बिकते हुए कूचाओ बाजार में जिस्म खाक में लिथरे हुए खून में नहलाए हुए लौट जाती है उधर तो भी नजर क्या कीजे अब भी दिलकश है तेरा हुस्न मगर क्या कीजे अब भी दिलकश है तेरा हुस्न मगर क्या कीजे और भी दुख है ज़माने में मोहब्बत के सिवा राहतें और भी है वस्ल की राहत के सिवा मुझसे पहली सी मोहब्बत मेरी महबूब नमा मुझसे पहली सी मोहब्बत मेरी महबूब